out in the designated wilderness area out in the Okefenokee Swamp. With a fire like that, we knew that with the conditions the way they were, it could really grow quite a bit. So one of the first things we were thinking about doing with this fire was getting a unified command to help manage the fire. So in the early days of the fire, we had the Georgia Forestry Commission, the U.S. Forest Service, Florida. They just changed the name last summer to Florida Forest Service, and GOAL, Greater Okefenokee Association of Landowners. So we all came together as a unified command to manage this fire. And it really helped out with communications from the get-go, I think. Our objectives with the fire were to try to keep the fire contained within the swamp, within the refuge boundaries, and to keep the firefighters safe and the public safe. The fire burned, by the end of the fire, it had burned 309,200 acres. We had 18,206 acres burned outside of the refuge. So we were able to keep it contained really well. Considering the size of the fire, we were really able to keep it contained well within the boundaries of the refuge. Another important thing, objective that we had, was to keep the firefighters and the public safe. And we had very few injuries on this fire, no real serious injuries, no fatalities, and the public was safe on the outside too. I'm not aware of any structures outside of the refuge that were burned by this fire. So we really accomplished our objectives well. We view fire as a natural part of the Okefenokee ecosystem. It's helped shape the swamp over time, and the plants and animals out there are pretty well adapted to it. They don't all survive a fire, but it does help keep those prairies open. And it was kind of a stubborn fire. It's one of those deals where nature started and Mother Nature had to put it out. And it kind of got hunkered down in the westernmost portion of the refuge, west of Stephen C. Foster State Park, in a bay swamp. And it got into the peat and just started burrowing down in there. So we don't know how many yards of refuge were burned, because it burned down underground. And in that area where it settled out in, there's trees were just down like tiddlywinks. Or, what is a stick thing you play with when your kids are just kind of piled up, pickup sticks? Yeah, that's what it looks like out there. It's a big mess, but as the fire burned down in the peat in those last few months of the fire, it burned the roots of those trees, and they came down, and so it took a long time before the water level came up high enough where we felt confident to put it out. So last week what happened is we felt like that was, if the fire didn't flare up last week, we felt pretty confident that we could call it out. And so we had a series of events going on. We had we got a note here, we had humidity as low as 16%. We had winds that gusted, I believe, up to as high as 19 miles per hour, and no precipitation all week long. And so we felt like under those conditions, if that fire didn't get flare back up, then we had a good chance of calling that fire out with a pretty high level of confidence. I guess we probably can't be absolutely 100% sure it's out, but water levels have come up. We had them within January, February, and March, particularly February, March. We had some rain hit the swamp finally, and a total of 13.05 inches. So that brought the water levels up, and that's what really we needed. Reflood the swamp to some extent. It's not as flooded as we like to see it to get out and open up more of our trails, but it apparently was enough to extinguish this fire.
But I know this doesn't concern the swamp exactly, but the county line fire down there, I know today was actually probably the first day I smelled a little bit of smoke from it because of the change of wind direction. Are y'all involved any with that, or I know it's closer to the southern end of the swamp down there?
Well, we've had some firefighters go to that meeting, and I'm the information officer for Okefenokee National Wildlife Refuge. So I have been in contact with the information officers on the county line fire. We are concerned about the county line fire. It's very close to the southern boundary of Okefenokee National Wildlife Refuge. So far, they're doing an excellent job keeping it contained within the lines that they have established on that fire. The current estimate acreage is 34,936 acres. They consider it 75% contained. It was caused by lightning out in the Pinhook Swamp, another one of the swamp fires. It's very difficult to get anybody close to safely to suppress that fire.
Just wait for it to come.
You really, yeah, you have to go around the margins of that fire and try to do some strategic firing when you can around the perimeters, or around the lines that you have good lines, like in our case, Swamp's Edge Break, Perimeter Road, provided some good lines to maybe do some strategic firings off of. Well, they've got some of those lines too. They got some roads out in the Pinhook Swamp. They've done some strategic firing off Route 2, and so far they've been able to keep it contained pretty well.
Hopefully they'll get some rain on it tonight.
Yeah, I know that anybody driving in that area has to be careful with smoke, particularly in the morning. You know, a mix of fog and smoke together, it can become deadly. So you really have to slow down, switch over to low beams, and know that it could, if you start to see smoke, you really need to slow down because it could get thicker just like that, particularly early in the morning.
Last year, what lessons did we take from last year, especially at the height of the fire? With the, I know it shortly after the fire became a federal, got federal attention. The JIC was formed, and we had a central phone number.
Yes.
And then as the fire built and escaped into Race Pond, and on out there, local entities tried to seem like they were getting more involved, and more phone numbers started popping up. What did we take from that as far as keeping the information centralized? Because I know at our website we covered the fires pretty extensively last year, and at a few points the JIC was fantastic, having that one number to call for the federal. But when the fire escaped a few times, there was a number for Charlton, a number for Fargo. What did we take from that?
I do want to clarify one thing before I answer your question. That is the escape up in Race Pond. Race Pond started outside of Honey Prairie Fire. It was a separate fire.
Right.
I think that the Georgia Forestry Commission determined that was lightning caused. And so that was a separate fire. We tried hard to keep that from going into the swamp and tried to keep it contained. We'd end up having them run together at some point, though, during the progression of these fires, the Honey Prairie Fire complex. We had lightning strikes outside the boundaries of the Honey Prairie Fire that started the Paxton Road and the Jordan Prairie fires. The Paxton Road fire started outside the swamp and quickly went into the swamp, and that was the first time we really had fire north of the Swanee Canal during the history of the Honey Prairie Fire. It was only a week or so before the Honey Prairie joined that fire.
Right, yeah.
So, but as far as the Joint Information Center, JIC, and the Instant Information numbers, we've always tried to maintain a number for fire information on this fire from the very first days of the fire. To begin with, it was my office phone number there at Refuge Headquarters. Okay, but as things picked up more and more and became more complex, the JIC was a good way to go to get that interagency information going, so that we tried to have information officers representing the different agencies. But that was, we tried to keep this fire right-sized, and even with our information officers, we try to keep it right-sized, and that right-sized for cost containment. And so as things escalate and it gets more complex and you're running more what we call trap lines, where we're posting bulletin boards all the way in communities around the refuge. And when we've got a lot of demand for the TV crews coming out for interviews, and we're doing 1 or 2 updates a day and producing maps and maintaining our website, Facebook page, and NC Web. So as things really get more complex and bigger and more personnel involved, that's when you need the JIT going on. And so when it was big like that, we had the JIT, and when things tapered down some, we were able to release some of those incident information officers that we had in the JIT, and after a while it was no longer effective to maintain it. So, but anyway, we've always had some kind of a number to call that we will put out in our news releases.
That was the reason for the extra numbers, is what I was wondering.
Yes.
The JIC was federal, that was the swamp, and the other fires were outside the swamp. That was the reason for the different.
Yeah, and we had that Sweat Farm Again fire going on for a while, northwest of the Honey Prairie Fire. And so we had some of those numbers were tied in with the Georgia Emergency Management in the different counties.
Right.
And so, I know for a while there, we were meeting every morning here in Folkestone with the commissioners and the city and emergency management folks to just keep updated, share information about what was going on with the fire.
So basically at this point, Honey Prairie's dead.
Yeah, we declared it out. On Monday, April 16th.
Very good, very good. Do you guys have any more questions?
I don't. About covered it all, I believe.
All right.
We appreciate you coming.
Thanks for inviting me.
All right. Throwing papers everywhere.
Oh, I appreciate you making the trip.
All right,
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. We'll get that for you.
Thank you.
All right. We're not real formal here on the show.
We're a sports show, so don't know all the high-tech questions to ask, but we appreciate you
Cover
coming
this
up.
track stuff here, Glenn, so we can wrap this up.
Thanks a lot.
All right, we appreciate Mark Grams and Art Webster both for coming, and we got one more bit of information here. The boys and girls track teams competed in the region track meet. Boys was Monday, girls was Tuesday. And a new thing by Georgia High School this year, they've had, it used to be top 2 automatically qualified for state in each event, but now they've added a sectional competition. So they're taking the top 4 in each event
For the section.
go through the sections. And the ones for the boys that qualified for sectionals are, the only winner we had was Tyree Savage in the long jump, finishing second. In the 400 meter and the 800 meter run were Deontay Smith. Adrian Benefield finished second in the long jump, the high jump, and was third in the 200 meters. Levi Cribb finished fourth in the discus throw. Jonathan West finished second in the pole vault, which is, I don't know if we've ever had a pole vaulter around here, but
First I've ever heard of.
and the 4x400 relay team finished in third place. The team consisted of Deontay Smith, Trey Harrington, Quintez Walters, and Antonio Tarver. So I believe there's 8 of them in total that qualified for sectionals. I want to congratulate them. Sectionals will be in Athens at the University of Georgia track.
Long drive.
Not this weekend, but the following weekend. The way they did it, they split the state in like
East and west, just like in wrestling.
So I think it's regions 2, 3, 6, and 7 maybe that's in our section, and then the other 4 regions will have their own sections. And I think the top 4, I believe, out of the sectionals qualify for the state, which would be in Jefferson, like always. Other than that, we've got rec ball still going on every Saturday. Basically from 9 o'clock to about 2 o'clock. So,
You hadn't had any kids playing glass ball charged to mounds.
you know, we've done a both basketball. We're just playing straight T-ball with them now. But Saturdays in Folkestone and Tuesdays and Thursdays in St. George. So, that's going to about wrap us up for tonight.
Region Golf Tournament, 23rd, all day.
Region Golf Tournament will be the 23rd of April, which I believe is Monday, at the Folkestone Golf Club. So kids don't have to travel far
That's
anyway.
right. We can go out there and play
Got the home course.
9 holes, yeah, a home course match.
Yep.
Like I said, we're going to wrap up for this week, and hopefully we'll be back again next week.
Hopefully we'll have some good news from the baseball team, the golf team, and some of these track guys.
All right, so we'll see y'all next week.